Hi there, my name is Aliyah Selah and welcome to Astro Insights. I'm with Psychic Inspiration Academy and I'm loving the idea of training empaths and indigos and crystals and light workers to understand astrology so that you can use it in your life and see how it guides your intuition to help you to make the most authentic life choices. And that's the way that I offer astrology, is authentic life, because that's what our goal is, an authentic life. And astrology can help you to bring out the best in you, the best of others, and understand our relationship alchemy, how we can raise our emotional intelligence by learning and teaching one another, which is what the chart shows. So that's what we're doing, and let me know if you're interested in that. And today, we're looking at the Capricorn super full moon, July 13th. And what happens before it, because we have the second US Pluto return happening July 11th, just a few days before, building up the energy in the full moon. We're going to be looking at this amazing thing that happened with 6 planets lining up across the sky, and then see when's the last time it happened and how that relates to the 60s and now, according to our human and civil rights focus. It's really starting to get happening more and more, as it is so needed. We're looking to bring it all about with more emotional intelligence through astrology here with Astro Insights. So come on in. Let's see what we're looking at with the lineup. What we have here is we have 6 planets that lined up, and it won't happen again. 6 planets won't happen again lining up until 2040. That's why it's special. So this happened on the 24th of Dawn, and the new moon was on, or is, depending upon when you watch this, June 28th. And Mercury is the first planet, and that's communication and travel. Mercury went into Gemini June 13th, which was the day before the full moon last month on June 14th. So then it's continuing now. It's going into Gemini and with Venus. And Venus is in Gemini on till the 22nd. So this is happening, building up this energy of talking and communicating that's happening as we lead into the new moon, which then builds the energy that's leading into the full moon. So that's what we're going to be looking at and seeing how this energy is very, very special. When we line up like this with things, it's like the whole world is connected. And last time it happened, it was June 3rd and June 4th. We had 5 planets lined up. It was the days after the Johnny Depp verdict, which happened June 1st. And I don't know if you were into it or not, but certainly a lot of us were. And we're talking millions that were following this. And so it brought like group thought together. It aligns us. Our empathy and our connection is much more pronounced when planets line. And when the moon is in Aquarius, we heard on the planets align, and Jupiter will rule the stars, that whole age of Aquarius thing. Well, I have a whole nother understanding about Aquarius. I think that each of the planets that are important are going into Aquarius and kind of attuning us on that level. But we'll talk about that again at another time. Right now, we're focused on the moon, who's also joining. That's why there's 6 planets. Then we have Mars, which is giving energy, the yang energy, whereas Venus was receiving energy and the yin energy. And then we have Jupiter, which is expanding and learning, but it can be possible self-indulgence. It is in Aries, and Aries is about innovation, pioneering, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. But first, I want to just say that Saturn is a planet of responsibility and karma, and right now it's in Aquarius, Like I said, each of the planets in 1998 was when Neptune went into Aquarius. Like each of the planets are kind of attuning us on each of the levels as we get more of the Aquarian energy. And I'm going to be doing a video about that. But anyways, we have this Saturn retrograde from June 4th to October 27th. That means we are going back over the meaning of what is it to be in community. There is a real bond between us. It's getting stronger. And we are all focused on healing our community wound. And I believe that's a wound that was made because we are tribal. And if you look at the indigenous people, they know this. That was their strength. And instead, we began to each do for themselves, each man against man and woman against woman, and everybody fighting for the same things instead of working together and sharing, which I believe will be more in the future. That is the Aquarian way, very interdependent and feeling a sense of equality, equanimity. That's what Capricorn is leading us, with this energy that is important because it's connected to the Aquarian energy that comes afterwards. And we need to build the energy from one to the other. Capricorn is more authority issues, whereas the Aquarian energy is more community issues. So this is a fun fact. It hasn't happened where we were able to see 6 planets with the naked eye since 2004. So it's been about 18 years, and it will be visible till the end of June. Okay, so now what we're going to look at is the comparison of what happened in the 1960s and the 2020s and how they are connected from this lineup. So as I said, there was an incredible lineup in Aquarius, February 4th, 1962. Okay, so that's pretty important. That was a long time ago, but 7 planets lined up in Aquarius. So you could say, well, that's when the age of Aquarius was. And I'll say, well, you know what? It was definitely starting the energy as the 60s, just 62, it was still just building up until the end of the 60s. So it's just starting to help us to see more in alignment with each other. And if you notice this pattern here, all of these are lined up and focused on this Neptune in Aquarius. Neptune is about our visions and our ideals. It is, with Scorpio, it's always going to be about intimate relationships and possibly sexual energy. So this is a time where the 60s, the skirts got really short as the decade moved on, and there was a lot of free love and all kinds of stuff. So that's kind of like what we're looking at, all the planets lining together and looking at that issue as, these people want to get together and be one and see one humanity, but they're all sleeping around and taking drugs, so it was kind of like, it was a beginning of opening up, and the people who were part of the establishment were like, oh no, they're bad, they're wrong, whatever, they're derelicts or whatever, they used to use that word. But the point is that we're all seeing that this is happening. So just look at a little bit of some of the Aquarian energy that's been dabbling around. Neptune was in Aquarius, as I said, January 29th till August 23rd in 1998. Jupiter was in Aquarius, November 21st to April 13th, and that's a 12-year cycle, so that's happening again fairly soon. Some of these outer planets, they take a lot longer to show up. These are all personal planets, though, here, and then the social planet of Jupiter and Saturn. But the rest are all personal planets. So we have that there that happened in the 60s. So what happened on February 11th, 2021, there was a 6-planet lineup in Aquarius again. So that's Mars in Taurus. Otherwise, it was all personal planets. And so basically we have, all these planets there in Aquarius. And it's important because what we're seeing here is that, hold on, my thing keeps going back. Can I move you out of the way, please? Thank you. Okay, so I'll put you here. So Saturn starts in 1960s and 2020s in Capricorn, and they end the decade in Taurus. Then Saturn is the energy of karma and authority, and Saturn is in Aquarius, which is community interdependence. And March 21st to July 1st, 2020, and then later December 17th to March 7th, 2024. So Saturn takes about 28, 29 years to come full circle. And basically, we're spending about 2.5 years in each sign. So February 11th, just like this February 4th in 1962, was 7 planets and 6 planets. So I just wanted to point that out because I think it's an important thing whenever that happens. Now, the next thing we're going to be looking at here is the moon in Cancer, which I went over and did a whole video on. But what I wanted to show you is this. Now, when I first look at a chart, I look at the energetics and I see how it's all pointing to these planets here. Why is it doing that? Mars and Chiron and Jupiter. Jupiter is expansion, but also can be overindulgence, and all of the planets have their positive and negative aspects, qualities. And then Chiron, which is the wounded healer, can stay in their wound and not come out and learn from their wound so that then they can teach others, which is the evolved Chiron. And then Mars is in Aries, and it can be, fire energy that pushes or feeding the fuel of change that needs to happen. So using the best parts of these planets together as they cluster together and all these energies are focusing on it, I would say that this is an important fire energy to give us energy to move forward, especially if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a coach or a consultant, because that means that you're taking, just like Chiron, your wounds that you healed and helping other people to heal theirs because of what you learned from doing it. So that's a really important focus, I think, for us at the new moon. And we're going to go ahead and now see that the dreamy Neptune went retrograde, which is going to happen until December 3rd. So that's going to be a time when we go back and think of our visions, review and integrate what visions we want, because things have changed a lot. And some of the visions we might be going towards are outdated. We need to update them for who we are now. So that's something I wanted to just give a little shout out to. And now we're going to move on to the full moon. Now, what we have in the full moon here is a 5-pointed star. Some people really like those 5-pointed stars, and I think it's really cool whenever it shows up in a chart. As I said, I look at the energetics of it. So it's got that 5-pointed star, and then also kind of an hourglass thing happening, or a butterfly, and then a bowl that's tipping over. So what does it have to say to us as it tips over? That's what we want to know. There's fruition and culmination comes with the full moon in Capricorn, with Pluto right next to the moon there. Pluto is there offering us good, strong look at authority in our society and how it is time to take our power back. That's a lot of what's happening here with Black Lilith and Mercury and the sun opposite the moon and Pluto. This Capricorn Cancer thing is very strong, polarizing, and we've all seen that with the abortion issue. Then other issues, I mean, there's so many issues that are polarizing to us at this time. It's time to connect with others and stop the polarizing, because we're all human beings. And if we work together, we can do a great deal to really bring the best of what we want together. Whereas if we fight each other, the powers that be are going to just use that against us to crack down more of their authority issues. So the best thing we can do is moving into our hearts, trusting our feelings. And that's a lot about what people are talking about when they're talking about our 3D world, and then we're moving from 3D to 5D. Well, we're moving to 5D, which is the part of us that is like knowing that it's working out exactly as it should. The flow is happening. You're not attached. You're not competing. You're just in the flow of what is the best that can happen out of this situation. So we are doing that, and lessons are moving on swiftly as we live with integrity, which is what's going to really be an important thing in this next period here. So we have this wonderful thing about our connection with the sensitive Cancer and how it's time to show up for others and ourselves with some authentic empathy. Moving into our hearts and trusting our feelings. I said it twice because it's so important. Now let's look at this next thing that I look at is the planetary elemental balance. And you see now that Mars went into Taurus, so there's only one fire sign, that's Jupiter, and then of course Chiron, which is an asteroid. So we have an Earth, we have 4 now in Earth. So we have Moon and Pluto in Capricorn, and we have Uranus and Mars in Taurus. And then it's there with the North Node, and Uranus is about sudden changes. And when it's in an Earth sign like that, a fixed Earth sign, it's breaking things up. It's going to be some things that need to be broken up. Now, I don't mean physically, and I don't mean violently. I mean things of ideas, how we've seen each other and countries. It's just time for us to understand we're all human beings. And Uranus is all on that, and it will be obviously giving us many opportunities to continue on that path. As you know, we see Pluto, Saturn, and Neptune are all retrograde. So this is time to review and integrate the things that we want as we move on. Okay, so now we have the air signs. The air sign is Venus in Gemini and Saturn in Aquarius. So those are the 2 air signs, and the 3 water signs are Neptune in Pisces. There you go. And the Sun and Mercury and Black Lilith, although it's an asteroid, not a planet, and that's in Cancer. So what I see with these Venus in Gemini is time for us to really look at how we speak to each other, to ourselves, that inner speak. It's how we intellectualize things, and you know what that means for how we communicate in our conversations. Whereas the Saturn in Aquarius retrograde is going to be a little different of an air sign because it's further in the last part of it, and so it's more about generational things. These are the social planets, Saturn and Jupiter. So those are the times when we're real focused on how we get along with others. So now that it's in Aquarius, it's really about us seeing ourselves as humanity and how we can get along. So that's the full moon energy. There's a lot of things happening here with this Neptune retrograde, with the Port of Fortune and the Void of Course. All I can say is there's going to be some illusions that are dissolved. Okay, we know that there's going to be we keep hearing about it anyways, the disclosure that's happening on UFO issues, on energy issues, on a lot of other things that are coming out with Hunter Biden's laptop, and all kinds of things are starting to come out. We have so many interacting circles with the elite working on the Great Reset. We're going to see if we can do the Great Escape and move on. Perhaps that's what the bowl is tipping out, the Great Escape. Okay, so that is one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, the full moon, but I also want to talk to you about the Pluto return of the United States. That means that when it first happened, this is what happened July 4th, 1776. And that was back when slavery was A-OK. So a lot has happened since that time. So it's happened the first time in February 22nd, 2022. That's when it happened the first time. It's when we went to 27 degrees, 33 minutes of Capricorn. So we did that back in February, and then it went retrograde, and that means it's now going over the same point, 27 degrees, 33 minutes, again, July 11th, which is right before the full moon. So this is really important to kind of look at that energy and how we look at Pluto, because Pluto, as I said, is really important with the moon next to Pluto happening in the full moon. And then we look at where Pluto is here with, a lot of kinds of designs happening. I don't see anything really calling out to me, just a lot more energy. There's a lot more happening. And then we look at the opposite here, and that's the sun and the port of fortune. And port of fortune is a mathematical equation of the sun, moon, and rising of a person, and you put it together, and that's the special point. It's an Arabian concept in astrology, and so I look at that, and then I also look at the south node, north node, and that's a Ayurvedic understanding that they call it Ratu and Ku, and also the head and the tail of the serpent, they'd say, or the dragon. I've heard it. And so there's lots of different things, because astrology has been cultivated over centuries, So there's a lot there. But basically, I found that Uranus next to the North Node, which is things we're coming to learn, means that there's going to be a lot of lessons learned around the Earth issues there in Taurus. And that's, something that was happening. It's been happening because Uranus moves very slowly. So we're going to be looking at more of the different planets, but basically it's very close. And it even went retrograde at 28 degrees 36 minutes, which is very close to 27 degrees 33 minutes. So meaning it retrograde and just went right back over it. So it's an interesting time that it's really a hot spot for redemption and needing to face the crimes against the people. As I said before, Hunter Biden's laptop, disclosure of the UFO issues, all this disclosure has to come out if we're going to save our planet together, and that's what we need to do. So more and more of us are getting hip to that. It's Save Our Planet time to save the human race and our planet. That's what we need to be focusing on. So having been retrograde for some time, Pluto turns direct in Capricorn on October 8th, 2022. So go ahead and remember that, because that's going to be an important time when Pluto goes direct, because it's been retrograde for a while. We've been going over, what does authority really mean to me? And what does it mean to others? And how is it happening in the world? How is authority, doing what we ask them to do, which is take care of us? How is it doing that? We need to really ask those questions. It's very, very important. So we have some other things that are happening, because Pluto turns retrograde for approximately 5 months every year and on a regular cycle. Now is a time for integration and holding on to our root issues, our soul purpose. And when we are here, when a planet goes retrograde, the outer planets are slower and affect us more generationally, because a whole generation will have a planet in a sign, and it will be much more of an energy that marks that generation. So anyways, there are many changes happening. This disclosure and a shift towards human rights, less censorship and demanding a just authority. It's all there for us to ponder and bring out the best in ourselves and others as we focus on, how do we get along? Isn't that important? The main thing here? Because as we learn to get along better, we can actually organize more of what we want in the future. So Pluto enters Aquarius March 23rd, 2023. I believe that that is the furthest planet finally reaching Aquarius. I believe that that is the dawning of the Aquarian age, culmination. Because all these other planets were in, in Aquarius, and now it's time for Pluto to do that until, until November 19th, 2024. So it will, because it's going to go retrograde and it's going to return, and then it will finally go forward in direct November 19th, 2024. So that's some interesting things about Pluto. And Pluto is really about those deep-seated issues, our fears and our tribal inclinations, and our karma is Saturn, like how are we going to be responsible for it? But our Pluto issue is like, what will get us to survive and what won't. Those are the kind of Pluto issues. Like, what are you like? Yeah, that's okay. Don't you even touch that. That's a Pluto issue. So I just want to give a shout out to Astro Insights. That's where I get my charts, and it's so wonderful that they do that. They have a lot of things where you can store your charts, and then also where you can take a chart and you can tweak it till you get to the right degree that you're looking for. So it's really wonderful for your astrological growth. They have some write-ups that they do for chart comparison, and it's a really good way to learn astrology. So I highly recommend it. So now we're going to go ahead here and look at just some Astro Insight dates that we have. Venus enters Gemini just after the summer solstice, June 22nd, and will be there till July 17th. And that's just after the full moon. Going forward, we'll be looking for the value in information and facts. Oh my gosh, how about that? Facts, so important, right? So this is also a good time to let our imagination soar, because we have a lot of Gemini energy, just wants to focus on playful, childlike laughter and imagination at its best. And so we'll be looking at a more expressive and playful time for the next couple of weeks while we have all that Gemini. Now, the new moon is in Cancer, June 28th. As I showed, there's an emotional new beginning. Cancer is very emotional and a fresh start. However, at this time, it may be good to look up and see the bigger picture, the grand vision for your life. So much has changed and the world has shifted, and you might need to update some stuff. So then we have the Cancer new moon and Neptune retrograde in Pisces on the same day, June 28th. And that's going to be retrograde until December 3rd. So we have some amazing things that are synchronistically happening with the moon, which is in Cancer, which is a water sign, and Neptune, which is in Pisces, which is also, Neptune is a planet that is ruled by the water. So we have a lot of emotional stuff happening around then. When Neptune is moving, we can strengthen our intuition and experience a greater connection to our soul. Integrate and update for who you are now. Okay, so there's Neptune, which is visions, and Saturn, which is karma. They're both retrograde, and that means it's time for a lot of integration happening. And Pluto is as well, but Pluto is like its own thing. These are kind of like Saturn and Neptune can be like goals in your life. Like, where do you want to take your energy? What's your vision, and how are you going to follow it through? That would be Neptune and Saturn. Okay, so Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, June 4th until October 22nd. And Saturn, again, is responsibility and integrity. It's got the karma thing all down. So it's in Aquarius, and we're going back over what it means to have a community, to be in community. We're all isolated and locked down, and now we have to reinvent what does it mean for community, because we need to assert that it needs a new definition. Community isn't some high-ups billionaires running us like puppets. No, actually, that's not going to work for us. We want an interdependent, interpersonal community building skills that help us with the community world wound that was from us being tribal and no longer being tribal. So it's time to heal the community wound with our understanding of what it means to be a human being and how we're all connected all over the world in that way. And the internet's helping us to do that. So many people gathered and had all kinds of wonderful things happening and gathers on the internet during lockdown. We were resourceful and it was a wonderful thing to see. So Saturn is in Aquarius March 21st to July 1st, and that means that it's going to later also be in Aquarius December 17th to March 7th, 2023. So it's going to be some time where we have some reevaluation of that Saturn energy of integrity and all kinds of understandings of our responsibility. We have a responsibility to heal our planet, and we have a responsibility to get along and find a way to do it together. And I think it's going to be happening more and more. And I feel that astrology has a big part in it. I think that we can raise our emotional intelligence, and I'm offering authentic life astrology that does no prediction, that isn't about saying to somebody, you are this is who you are as it's defined, and this is what's going to happen to you. I heal people from those kinds of readings. No, that's not astrology. Astrology gives you more free will to be able to attune to the heavenly bodies and see how we can make the most out of our lives, our relationships, our careers, and see how we can make the most authentic life choices for ourselves. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm doing a 4-part series, Learn Visceral Astro, Energetic Methods for Increasing Intuition Insights. So I'm calling out to light workers and intuitives and empaths, indigos, crystals, artists and healers. It's time to raise up the vibe to 5D, if that's how you understand it, to being in service, if that's how you understand it, to raising our kids in peace, if that's how you understand it. It's time for us to understand that we are all connected. That's what quantum physics is all about, telling us the quantum field connects us all, and that's what we're here for. So I pray this was a good Astro Insights session for you. If you're interested in learning astrology, I'm going to be putting this up at some point soon. And Psychic Inspiration Academy is going to be moving forward with training light workers, intuitives, empaths, indigos, crystals, artists, and healers so that you could have your own business doing readings online. I have the Authentic Life protocol and follow-up tools to help to cultivate what comes up in the reading. So blessings to you. Thank you for hanging out with Astro Insights, and know that it is all of us together rising up our emotional intelligence so that we can raise the vibe and heal our planet and ourselves. Blessings.